Hello, 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 and welcome to the Chin Up Show. This is episode number 18. I'm Kenneth Chin, and on behalf of my team and I would like to warmly welcome all of you again. For those of you who are new, we want to especially welcome you and hope that you could stay on because this show is not one of those where we just go for 45 minutes and trying to, be commercially friendly. We have content from our hearts and our minds, and we want to share with you what we believe is important. And sometimes it takes an hour, sometimes it takes 1.5 hours, sometimes even 2 hours. But I welcome you again and thank you for tuning in. I pray that everyone who's watching will be blessed in one way or the other. As usual, here at our first segment, I'd like to give an update of what God has been doing in and through my life for the past week. And this is especially those who are following me either on Facebook, Instagram, or even partners of Acts Church, friends who know me, who like to just know what God has been doing. So let me just start by saying I had a very, very good meeting with Edward last week because I needed to just get on the ball with the new direction for AMA. It used to be called AMA, Acts Music Academy. Now I've changed the name to Acts Worship Academy because our focus is on worship and we want to raise up more worship leaders and even musicians who will help lead in worship, and we want to be able to fuel our church plants, our growing church plants with musicians, the right musicians with the right spirit. And so it was a really, really good meeting. And then it was followed up a couple of days after that with our very first full meeting with the WPO. What that stands for is the Worship Pastor's Office. And that is a new office that I started because as I was praying about the next worship pastor, the Lord said to me, it will not be in the form of a person, one person, at least for this time, but it will be in the form of a team. And God said, I want you to work as a team to reestablish, rebuild worship in Acts Church, get everybody back to the same page, everybody with the same heart and mind and with the same voice, same values. We want to do everything for the audience of one, all right? Not to please anybody else, but Jesus, who is worthy of all our praise and worship. And so it was a great time. We have on the list of WPO, let me just very quickly read it to you. I have it on my Facebook. Hey, guess what? Today I'm going to introduce something called Reading from My Phone. And on my phone, it's all kinds of wonderful things. And we have Facebook entries, Instagram entries, X entries. We've got Telegram chats. So let me just find this particular Facebook entry that I made that gives you an update of our worship pastor's office. So I'm getting to it. I will read it to you in a little bit. So here we go. Oh, I've got Jürgen Klopp saying Jesus Christ is the most important person in history. And that's not from me, okay? I took the poster from somewhere else. I thought it was so cool. Jürgen Klopp, one of the best managers in the world, one of the best managers that Liverpool ever had. You'll never walk alone. Such a Christian club, okay? Let me just go on into this Acts Worship Academy and the WPO. Okay, yeah, here we go. I found it. Awesome and history-making, having our very first full meeting as the new Worship Pastor's Office, WPO, yesterday. That's 2 days ago now, with 100% attendance. Okay, that's cool. So I call it the full WPO meeting. And the names are Pastor Sandra, the OG worship leader and OG worship pastor of Acts Church. Pastor Joel, who took over from Pastor Sandra, is also in the team. Pastor Julian, who took over from Pastor Joel, is also on the team. And then Pastor Jack, Pastor Daniel, Pastor Stephen, and myself as advisor. And I continue to read on, where we decided in that meeting on roles and responsibilities for each one, even as we work as one. So the WPO is really one. It's sort of one position, worship pastor, but made up of a few pastors or people. We also recommended names for the new core team of the Acts Worship Academy, formerly known as the Acts Music Academy. And we'll soon be contacting these that we have recommended and suggested. Now we have Dawn in our midst at the studio here today, and I approached Dawn. I said, Dawn, you're an amazing person, an amazing musician, and on our hearts, we would love you to be part of the new core team for AWA. And it was so nice of her to say, Pastor, I've been thinking about it as well, and I feel I can contribute. And she said these beautiful words, if you didn't approach me, I will approach you. Wow, that's so cool to have someone so ready, so willing, so open, and so confirming and assuring and affirming like that. And then, of course, I made a call to Alex Martin as well. I think it was a text. And I said, Alex, who's also in the studio, okay, and both of them are on sound, Alex and Dawn. And Alex said, Pastor, sure, count me in. And I love that. When we have people of good and right spirits, there is nothing we cannot do. And so we thank God. 2 said yes. Edward also said yes. Raphael said yes. And we have about 2 or 3 more people that we will be approaching. And they will form the new core team of the Acts Worship Academy. And once all these names have been confirmed, they will work closely with the WPO, the Worship Pastor's Office, and specifically with Pastor Julian, who is, drumroll, the new head of training representing the WPO. Okay, so he sits on the WPO, but everyone on the WPO has a specific role and responsibility. So all of us agree that Pastor Julian should head up training, the training arm. And so the main focus, of course, for this new core team of AWA, Acts Worship Academy, is to constantly and continuously help reach and raise worship teams and worship standards for all our church plants, present and future, to please the audience of one, Jesus Christ. All right? Now, Pastor Sandra will be advisor for alignment and accountability. Sometimes we have vision alignment, but we don't have the follow-up of accountability. What are our church plants doing about the alignment that was shared with them? Accountability is going to be very, very important. We also don't want people to just choose any song and different church plants singing different songs. We want to, be more one and more guided, more directed, more, downloading from heaven and sharing with everybody. So everybody just, whichever church plant you go to, we're singing the same songs for that same season. And it's not like, different church plants singing different songs and trying out different songs according to the whims and fancies of the worship leader. No, the worship leaders are going to be very submitted to each other and to the leadership. And we want to be able to have God songs for God moments and to do it together. So that's just one of the things that we'll be dealing with. Accountability is important. Pastor Joel will be the head of New Songs Global. So his responsibility is not just to write songs and, share them with us, but he is also to encourage the other countries. I know Thailand, ex-Chiang Mai, has got songs, and that can be translated. Many of those songs are written by Andrew, or we call him Tent. And then there are songs from the UK, songs from Botswana, and so on and so forth. Maybe there'll be a Japanese song that will come out. Who knows? So Pastor Joel will head up this, and also the whole thing about the studio recording. He will work closely with Alex Martin and the team. Pastor Jack will head up the sound and equipment department. Pastor Stephen will head up the recruitment, and Pastor Daniel will head up the administration. All right? So we also have 2 others that will help us form the rest of the core team of Extreme, and that is Yen Yu and Juliana Jong. Okay? And the extended core team for Extreme, extended core team, will include all our worship coordinators from the various church plants, okay? We will probably be having a day out together soon, if not a retreat. We're trying to find a good date where we can address and maybe even answer questions and align the whole team and also encourage and inspire. Okay, so Elder Shirley and a few others are helping me to get the dates down. I think maybe a date has already been confirmed, and that will be announced to all these precious people very, very soon. So, a lot happening there, a lot to say about that, but more will be shared in the days to come. Now, the VA Open Day, let me just jump to that now. It was held on a Saturday, and I tell you what, for the very first time, they were telling me parents and their children came even before the official time. So the official time was 9 a.m., and usually people come about 9 or 9:10, 9:30. But on that particular Saturday, just last Saturday, the VA Open Day, people started coming at 8:45. And thank God we were there early and we were there ready to receive the parents. And so I think it's a good sign that parents are beginning to hear the buzz, the good things that are happening with Victory Academy, and they want a piece of it, at least to know what it is and what they can expect if they join Victory Academy. So it was a successful open day, and I thank the teachers and the management that was involved. And right after that, I had to leave for an assignment. I had to present something to help university, and that went really well. And I'll update you as time goes by. Dinner with Dave and Kat was special, and we just blessed them. Excuse me, as they took their leave to go home home is actually Malaysia, but to go back to London, where they are currently serving Acts UK as the coordinators. On Sunday, it was very unique because I was supposed to be preaching 2 messages, 2 worship services at Acts Brickfields. I was so looking forward to it. Then 2 days before or 3 days before that Sunday, I was on my knees in my prayer room and I was praying, and suddenly the Lord brought to my memory, my remembrance, an invitation that was given to me and to Pastor Sandra, an invitation that came from Pastor Clarine Chun. Those of you who know her know that she is a mighty woman of God. She is the founder of Super Kids, founder of Fun Gates education system. She is also the founder of Nobel International School, and she is a wonderful woman, a wonderful grandmother, mother, and a spiritual mother to many. And so when she invited me to be the guest of honor at their function called the Edu Week, it was the Edu Week launch on the Sunday. The Edu Week was going on for about 4 days. And this is the Fun Gates Edu Week. So Fun Gates is an educational system for kindergartens especially, preschool. And I think she has about maybe 80 or more kindergartens that are individual kindergartens, meaning they are separate from her own organizations. These were opened by other people, but they believe in the Fun Gate system, so they adopted the Fun Gate system. And Pastor Clarine, or sometimes, well, not sometimes, many times they call her Auntie Clarine now. And so Pastor Clarine, Auntie Clarine, insists that if you are part of the Fun Gate system, you must come for their annual Fun Gates Edu Week, where they will refresh teachers, recharge teachers, bless teachers, realign teachers, resource teachers, encourage and inspire them, right? So she requires them, no matter what background they are, no matter what faith they believe in, they must come. And there she will share all the wonderful stories about what God is doing and even share a message of how good God is. And many actually come to know who Jesus is because of Edu Week. So I got invited, right? And I looked at my schedule and I knew that I couldn't do this because we had a long combined month in February. and I was preaching there all 4 Sundays. And the people here in Kota Kemuning missed us, and we missed them. And about half of them from Kota Kemuning, for some reason or other, couldn't make it to our combined services. Some even didn't make it to Putrajaya International Convention Center. That's very, very sad. But, we will try to get them on board in future combined meetings. We are one family, and we support everything that the whole family does. But, a lot of them are new to Acts Kota Kemuning, so they might not have caught that DNA or that culture yet. Anyway, so we were looking forward to come back to Acts Kota Kemuning, and I was looking forward to do the 2 worship services that we have here, 8:15 and 10:45. But then, as I said, 3 days before Sunday, I was on my knees praying, and the Lord reminded me of that invitation from Pastor Clarion and put it on my heart for at least 5 minutes. Now, 5 minutes is very precious in my at least 1 hour in the presence of God, right? So you know that if God can get your attention for 5 minutes on something, He means that you pay attention to it. And so I said, Lord, it's a busy Sunday, and the why behind, I need to be here. And not only that, but I was supposed to even pray for Pastor Daniel Chong and Rachel Ann as the new church plant coordinators and assistant, respectively, for Acts Kota Kemuning. So, it's good for me to pray, right, for them and announce that to Acts Kota Kemuning. I know I announced that at Putrajaya International Convention Center on our anniversary last 2 Sundays ago. But I thought, just for in-house, I should do that. Plus, get this, it was also Acts Kota Kemuning's 2nd birthday. So they had a cake. And of course, I being the one that, by the grace of God, started Acts Kota Kemuning, they felt that it would be honorable to have me cut the cake, right? So there was a lot going on. But when God speaks, you just have to hear. And so the Lord said, I said, Lord, I don't think I'm doing anything at the Edu Week. I don't think I'm speaking. I don't think I'm even saying a prayer. But the Lord says, no, it's not about that. It's about being there. I just want you to be there, and I want you to show support to Pastor Clarion and to Edu Week and to Fun Gates and to all that they believe in. So I obeyed, and Pastor Sandra was very understanding. She always moves with me when she knows that God has spoken to me. And so she couldn't go with me because she had to worship lead at Acts Kota Kemuning and also, support me in my absence here. And so I went. I went early in the morning, and the time in this launch of the Edu Week extended by at least another half an hour to 45 minutes. If it didn't extend, I could have actually come back to speak at the second service here in Kota Kemuning. But the Lord didn't ask me to get up and go. He just said, sit there and just continue to show your support. And I was glad I did. And I don't know what else will transpire and come forth from that. But all we need to do, we don't even have to have conditions. We don't have to even say, Lord, nothing much happened. No, we don't, it's not our place to tell God, whether something was worth obeying. Just obedience itself is worth it. Are you with me? This is very, very important. And so I was glad I was there. I was glad I obeyed. And then I was able to make it in time to just hear Elder Keng Yak, who was very, very gracious to take my place just with 3 days' notice. And he preached for us, for me, that Sunday. And I got to hear a little bit of what he said. And they saved me a slice of cake. Woo! I was already going to fast sweet, But how, you must understand how to not eat that very rich chocolate cake. Because even though I was wanting to start to fast sweets, it was out of love that they saved me the cake, So not so nice, right, if I don't eat. So anyway, I ate half, and I offered the other half to Pastor Sandra. She didn't want it, so I ate that one too. But hey, let's not get into details. Let's just praise the Lord because U-turn starts this Saturday, March the 9th. And I'm already, like today, breakfast, no sweets. Nothing sweet. A-O kosong, okay? So there's going to be a lot of kosong in the next 21 days. Hopefully our brain don't get kosong. Kosong, for those of you who are watching from America or Australia or the UK, kosong just means zero, nil, no sugar, okay? This other thing I need to tell you, we went for the Curiosity event at Brickfields YMCA for not only a history-making event, but I tell you, our deaf community in Acts Church went from 2 people once upon a time to about 20, if not 22 people, and they have been with our 8 a.m. Mandarin community, Mandarin church, for the past few years. But because Acts Church is a church planting church, we are so glad, so proud of the Acts deaf community for having caught the heartbeat, the passion to also plant a church. And so they've been praying, they've been waiting upon the Lord, fasting and prayer walking and researching, and they found that there is a space available at YMCA Brickfields, and that they gave them a deal too good to be true, a huge discount, because even YMCA KL said, this is the first time we've ever heard of a deaf community church. And I tell you what, I asked quite a few people now, in our lifetime, we have never heard of a deaf community church. We've heard of deaf ministry. We've heard of going to a church where at a corner we see somebody signing for a group of people. But a church, in and of itself, a deaf community church. But even on top of that, listen to me now, none of us have even heard of a deaf community planting a church. It's usually the hearing and the able who will plant something for them, but they themselves catching the church planting, fire and going out there, on the cutting edge, there where most of the community are, in Brickfields. And in Brickfields, those of you who have been there before know that not only is there a big deaf community, there's also a big blind community. And so it's quite common to see people with their sticks as they're walking, right? Their guide sticks. And so the deaf community is opening this church called Acts Brickfields, and they are open to even the blind and anyone else for that matter. And I love it not only because it's history making, it's that very one time we get to hear about it in our lifetime. None of us have heard about it before, ever. And what a privilege. I stood there, with tears welled up in my eyes, saying, God, thank you so much for allowing me and the team to be involved, to participate, to be there in such a moment. I believe heaven rejoiced. I believe, the angels were celebrating. I believe, that darkness, that very day had to dispel and bondages broke. Just by, the faith of the people stepping out. I believe that God's presence came down so powerfully that all demons had to flee. And I'm just believing for great things as we launch this church plant, Acts Brickfields. Is going to be launched officially on April the 7th. But Curiosity, it's spelled like Curiosity, except the T-Y at the back is spelled instead as T-E-A, tea. So it's like a tea time Q&A, where people who are curious about this particular church plant can come and ask us or hear what we have to say about it, and then maybe have a chance to also ask questions. Maybe where will it be held, which room, what time, what day, when will it start, who is it for, can we invite people, is there food provided, is there opportunity to serve. So Curiosity, very nice name, right? So it's a tea time sharing. And I must say, I was so amazed that day at Curiosity, it was packed. And there were so many from the community that came because they were interested to know more. And many of them said they'll come back for the the birthing of the church on 7th of April. And so really, really powerful afternoon we had together. I saw them worship. For the first time, it was like a silent worship, right? And Michael tried to play like some kind like a drum, right? And although he can't really hear, he's just going with, I think, the signal of the worship leader, who is also not voicing out anything, and she's just doing hand movements, and the whole crowd is following her hand movements, worshiping. And I kind of like had a glimpse of what they could be feeling when we worship lead and music is playing in a normal service. And sometimes we feel like, we are normal, right? And we are doing things that actually they find difficulty or sometimes awkwardness in. But when you go into their world and realize that it's a quiet worship and that their hands are moving with such passion, and you can't even follow them because you don't even know the language that you're trying to follow, and hopefully you're not saying any bad word, right? And then the drum is not always on beat, but they tell us that actually the deaf people, the deaf community can actually sense the beat of the drum in their heart. So that's kind of like the only music they are getting. Also beautiful, just to know another person's world. That's how we bridge understanding and appreciation for people who are different from us. So it's very, very important not to have prejudice, not to have biasness, not to think that we are normal and others are not. Come into their world, see what they do, how passionate they are, moving their hands, loving Jesus, praising God, planting this church. And I felt so small that day. I felt like, although I was, called the founder and the pastor and all that, I'm like, Lord, I'm small. There's still so much I need to know. There's still so much I need to learn. There's still so much, oh God, that I need to experience, because God loves everyone, and God loves all languages, and God loves all forms of expressions unto Him when it comes from the heart. And I just thought about our theme as well. The theme this year for Acts Church is that all may, come on, you finish that sentence, that all may know. And God just loves it when we include, we are an inclusion, an inclusive church. We just believe that Jesus died for everyone, and that everyone can come to know who He is and receive His love and accept Him as Savior and Lord. And not only that, not only just to be saved, but to become sons and daughters of the living God, and to see His kingdom come, His will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So that was so, so awesome. Now, I want to finish off this first segment by just telling you one or two more things. And I think it's worth telling you that I had lunch with Philip and Eunice and one of their sons. They have two sons. One son, Joash, I believe, is in Victory Academy, and he was in Victory Academy while I was having lunch with his parents. And Jeremy, I think is his younger brother's name, he was there, and he tried to be Captain America and Captain Invisible, trying to hide under the table and say, oh, you can't see me. And I played along, and he laughed. But me and my wife had a really, really good lunch, and we had a chance to thank Philip and Eunice. I hate to see people go. I hate to see people relocate and migrate because, we have such a good relationship, and I feel like the church here, needs everyone, all hands on deck. And we got so much, all our dreams and our visions has got more people that we need to be, putting their hands to the plow more than less. But, when people go, people like Philip and Eunice, who are very talented and very gifted, very responsible, very committed to Acts. In fact, Philip reminded me that he's been in Acts Church for 20 years and that he has served on Extreme for 19. And so, so while I hate to see them go, I love the fact that they're going with such a testimony. They're going with such beauty and such no burning of bridges, going with such honor, going with such respect. They wanted to have that lunch with us, to thank us, and to also say farewell for now. And they also said, Pastor Kenneth, Pastor Sandra, please visit us anytime, right? They even showed us the new house they're renting, and it's a beautiful place, and they shared with us a testimony of how God provided, etc., etc. They still said to us, Malaysia is still home, and we're near enough to be able to fly back whenever we need to. But Pastor, thank you. And me and Pastor Sandra also took the opportunity to thank them for all the years of service, and that they ended so well. That's the beautiful thing. Philip led in worship for 13:30. That's one of our worship services in the afternoon. That's the time. 13:30 is not a name only. It's the time, 1:30 in the afternoon. And he led in worship for that one final time. And everybody said it was one of the best worship sessions. They loved every moment. They saw Philip giving his best. He was in his full suit and tie. He just ended with a bang. And I love that kind of heart, love that kind of spirit. And Eunice as well, serving till the very end. So that's the way, people. That's the way you should leave. Leave with a testimony. Leave with a good heart. Leave with a good word on your mouth. Leave with honor. And leave with a smile. Leave having, one more good session. And hopefully even one good lunch or dinner with the people that you care about, honor, and love. And so I just want to say that because there's so much to be able to catch even from that one lunch. So to you, Philip and Eunice, and to your two sons, we wish you only God's best always. The Lord will continue to be with you and bless you in all that you do. I pray that you find a really, really good church. There's only one thing that I reminded Philip and Eunice before we close that lunch, is that faith must be guarded at all costs. Because when we go somewhere, when we relocate somewhere, life can be good. Life can be even comfortable, very good in fact. But just watch out for our faith. Because faith can actually start to die where comfort starts to rise. And so I just said that. And Philip and Eunice said, yeah, Pastor, we are going to be very watchful of that. We're going to be very prayerful of that. Not just for us as a couple, but for us as a family. Our two sons going to the schools there, and with all the latest additions of worldly values, secular values, even unclean values that we know is unclean, totally opposite to the Spirit of God. They're going to have to be very watchful, very prayerful, and they understand that. They even are now limiting what the boys can watch online. And Philip's telling me that sometimes he even have to go and watch the whole thing first before he even allows the son to watch it, because he told me sometimes he will try to watch the first 2 to 5 minutes with his sons, and then the first 2 to 5 minutes is all clean stuff, and then in the 15th, 20th, 30th minute, some rubbish will come out. And so maybe those who are coming out with these rubbish for children know that parents will probably sit for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, right? And so the first 2 to 5 minutes, they make it all so clean and nice, and then they start to bombard our children's minds with trash. And so there's a lot of work to do to guard your family from a place of dwindling faith and faithlessness. All we asked was guard your faith. If possible, even let the fire grow stronger. All right? So, ladies and gentlemen, everyone who's watching, this is the close of segment 1. And I'll come back with you on segment 2, and we're going to look a little bit more into what's on my phone. See you later. Hello, welcome back to segment 2 of episode 18. Thank you for tuning in. This segment, I'm going to call it Reading from My Phone. And I've got a lot that comes through my phone. Actually, my wife laughs at me and says, this is not really a phone, because, I think that I think in the year 2023, I used my phone to call 5 people in the whole year. And 3 of them is my wife, 1 of them is Kenya, and 1 of them is Shirley. And usually I text. So my wife jokes and says, my phone is actually my camera. And she's not wrong. I take more selfies and wifis with my phone and photos of food. My auntie said, wow, I'm following you, Kenneth. I'm following you on Facebook. And I don't know why, but it's always food. I said, auntie, don't exaggerate, lah. Not always food, lah. Okay, maybe 90% of the time. But she says, I'm worried for you. She's the auntie on the Chin side. And the Chin side, as you can see from my size, is very blessed. Very blessed. The Malays will call it, sehat. Sehat means not just healthy, lah, It's a nice way of saying that there's a little bit too much fertilizer in you. So, auntie said, she calls me Kenny. Kenny, I'm a little bit worried, because she thinks that I am eating all the time, eating so much, finishing everything that's on the plate. No, sometimes I take a photo, but I might not finish the food. I should be a food blogger, right? Or food, what you call it? Food reviewer, food critic, But that's also dangerous because if I become a very popular food critic, they will feed me more. More people will call me to eat everywhere. So that's also dangerous. So maybe I won't go there. Megan, what do you think? Okay. She just put a thumbs up, not knowing what I'm saying. Okay. This Megan is just this lady, this random lady that just walks around on the top floor. No. Megan is our manager for Blue Rooms. And she takes care of Blue Rooms, which actually is our commitment to helping special needs children and their parents. Okay. So my phone. So it's not really a phone, it's a camera. And but a lot is happening through Facebook, Instagram, social media, and also I communicate with all my leaders, mainly through Telegram. So I want to read something to you. And those of you who have been hearing about this big hoo-ha on Singapore being the only country that Taylor Swift is allowed to perform in, I don't know what the big hoo-ha is, but the word is just I can see it being discussed, and it's unfair, and how can Singapore do this? And I think it was a leader in Thailand, maybe I'm not sure, who said that I didn't even know that you can do this kind of deal, exclusive deal. Okay, so I'm just going to read to you what I wrote. Actually, I should just be sharing with you what I know, but I think I wrote it so well last night that I want to read it instead, okay? So, here we go. There's much talk that's going on about Singapore's exclusive deal with Taylor Swift. And those of you who don't know Taylor Swift, okay, come on, come out of that rock, Come out of that rock and that cave and start living, okay? I don't follow Taylor Swift, so at least I know the name. And all her followers are called Swifties. All right, okay. So there are some who say that it's the first time they've ever heard of such a deal even being possible, while others argue that it's unfair. If only can play in Singapore, how about Malaysia, how about Thailand, how about Indonesia, how about your fans there? I think the fans are probably the ones, crying out. Anyway, let me read on. Others argue that it's unfair. But Singapore, ladies and gentlemen, has been doing this for many years. And it's not a bad thing. Let me explain. I first found out about the Singapore government's proactive, that's a word I want you all to listen, proactive intervention in private business over 3 decades ago. That's 30 years ago. I heard my father tell me a story. My father, the late Bernie Chin, was also responsible for bringing Michael Jackson to Malaysia, Diana Ross to Malaysia, what's that guitarist's name again? Eric Clapton to Malaysia, Bryan Adams to Malaysia. So I'm part of that family, where we came in and out of big stadiums, big, sound system. One day a sound system could cost about 100,000 ringgit. 2 days, 200,000. 3 days, 300,000. Okay, and so this is big business. Michael Jackson flew in his own sound system. One plane was for sound system. One plane. Okay, another plane was him and his lawyers, and I think 3 planes flew in. Another plane was his dancers and his crew. Okay, but one plane just for sound system. All right, so Mike Bernie Chin, my late dad, my father deserves a datukship. I don't know why he never got a datukship. No, he brought all this and made Malaysia's name famous. But anyway, that's for another day. Dad shared with me 30 years ago how he had been dealing with the management of a very popular West End production. I think it was Phantom of the Opera. But it could have been Les Miserables, but I think it was Phantom. Okay, very, very popular from the UK. And they have never come to this side of the world. But Dad, because of his popularity in show business, people heard of his name and was willing to offer him this big contract. The negotiations went for about a year. And because of Dad's reputation, he was tipped to win the contract for Malaysia, which would have been history-making in every sense of the word. Not just first time, right, to Asia, to Malaysia, and even the chance to make a lot of money, right, would have been history-making also. Then, listen now, at the last minute, just before the contract was to be signed. Now again, I remind you, 30 years ago, just before the contract was to be signed with my dad, the manager from UK called Dad to apologize profusely that the management has decided to go with Singapore's offer instead. And only because, listen now, only because this manager had become like friends with Dad, having been talking over a year, he took the time to explain in detail why and what happened, before the contract could even be signed with my dad. Now, listen, it's very important. This manager said to my dad, the Singapore government engaged the local promoter in Singapore to ask about the status of the contract. The local promoter replied they had probably lost it to Malaysia, lost it to Mike Bernie, because there was no one like Mike Bernie in Southeast Asia. Okay, top promoter, and everybody loves him. Everybody speaks about him highly. So they want to go with a reliable, reputable person. So they were going to sign with this guy called Mike Bernie, and Singapore lost to Malaysia. But the government said, yes, but is the contract signed? You're saying that you probably lost it to Mike Bernie, you probably lost it to Malaysia, but is it signed? And so the local promoter said, I don't know, but maybe not yet, soon. And that's when the government of Singapore sprung into action. Yeah, proactive. They offered to help sweeten the deal with goodies that included tax cuts. I think at that time, the entertainment tax was 30%. So if you were making 10 million out of this show, 30% would go to entertainment tax. And the Singapore government was willing to waive that. All right? I want you to know that there is a phrase in English that goes like this. Penny wise, pound foolish. Penny wise, pound foolish just means you're just looking at the cents and the pennies, but you're losing the ringgits and the dollars and the pounds. And sometimes we do that in life. We chase after the small things and actually lose sight of the bigger things. Are you all still with me? This is very important. And so they were willing to do this and a few more other things. And they told the local promoter in Singapore we will back you up. Just go and try to win this contract back. All right? Only one condition we have. Guess what? That the West End production must only be performed in Singapore. Ooh. Familiar? So the local promoter, with the strong backing now of their government, the Singapore government, then renegotiated. Quickly called the UK and said, guess what? I'm going to lay this before you and see what you think. Have you signed with Mike Burney yet? Have you signed with Malaysia yet? We were just about to sign. The contract is actually being drafted. It's being completed. We're about to sign this week. And the offer was made by Singapore, renegotiated, tendered, and alas, it was a deal too good to refuse. So Dad came home that week with mixed feelings. Sad that he had lost the opportunity of a lifetime to bring an international class act to Malaysia, and as a direct result, he would miss the chance of earning millions, not just for himself, but for Malaysia. But he also came back, not just sad, but he was amazed and he appreciated what had just transpired over the causeway. Dad told me that while he had lost the contract, he had also gained a newfound respect for the government of Singapore for being so proactive at spotting a golden opportunity. Yes, Singapore, and I pray every other government, I pray Malaysia's government will be quick to spot an opportunity. And this was a golden opportunity. And not only did they spot it, they were so ready and so willing to help one of their very own. Okay, a Singapore company, private company. Okay, this is not a government GLC, okay? This is not a government-linked company. This is a private company that had a big opportunity, and the Singapore government came around to back them up. You think about it, guys. How much a country can benefit when the government and the private sector works together hand in hand and more actively, more quickly, all right? It's not just wanting to do it, it's doing it quickly, all right? Because sometimes we can lose a big opportunity just within days. So they help one of their own to secure that opportunity for the benefit of both company and country. They didn't play wait and see. Now, too many of us are playing the wait and see game. They didn't play wait and see. Instead, they went and sealed. Do you like that? Not wait and see, went and sealed. Okay, go now. Go get the job done. Seal it. Seal the deal. All right. Besides their proactiveness, Dad was also amazed at their smarts, meaning their brains, especially in the area of business. So the Singapore government is very business friendly and also very sharp and smart. They probably have people up there in government that knows how business works and how you need to be quick with your decisions. Now, Singapore government traded their entertainment tax waiver for exclusivity. And while they may have lost millions in tax revenue, for example, if Phantom of the Opera, for example, made 10 million, because the entertainment tax was waived, they didn't have to pay 3 million to the government. So the government could have lost that revenue, but listen, they gained so much more from tourism. And not to mention the good reputation now Singapore has. Okay, because all you need is one big act come to Singapore, and the second one want to come there as well, because Phantom of the Opera people will go back to UK and they will share about their experience in Singapore. Wow, it's a first world country, beautiful hotels, blah, 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 right? Great stadium, great people, very supportive government. And guess what? Les Miserables would want to play there, right? And guess what? Les Miserables did play there. And so did Cats and many other shows. Why? Because one brings the other, you see? And all you need is one not doing well, and then all the other artists doesn't want to come anymore. You get what I'm trying to say? So when Dad brought Diana Ross, she came and she played to a packed crowd of big shots, okay, because I guess her fans are probably in that age where they are big shots. And she actually, this is a story, Michael Jackson actually thought that Malaysians were still living in huts and on trees. Yeah, that's a true story. Because sometimes when they promote Malaysia, those days they were promoting like maybe the long houses or the kampung houses. And it's a promotion of our culture. But you know, when people see that, they think that we live in huts. They think that we draw our water from rivers. And while there is still communities doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that, we celebrate all cultures, but that's not the only thing we have. We also have five-star hotels, and the best is here. But Michael Jackson refused to come to Malaysia, and it was Diana Ross that actually went back to America, and because of her close relationship with Michael, she told Michael, it is a beautiful country. And that's only when the management of Michael decided to deal with my dad. And again, one thing leads to another. And so when my dad had the contract of bringing Michael Jackson to Malaysia, no one else had it. So you know why he went to Singapore or to Brunei? Because those promoters had to ask my dad whether he could also negotiate on their behalf. So I think it cost something like $7 million to bring him over here. And so, Dad negotiated. And again, Dad, through his reputation, was able to be a blessing to the other nations as well. And Michael went. Otherwise, he wouldn't even have come to this area. So let me try to close this sharing because I've got a point to make if I've not already made some good points, okay? So Singapore had the tourism funds that they gained, and of course, good reputation. So now in the eyes of the world, Singapore is open, Singapore is modern, Singapore is forward-thinking, Singapore is smart, and all that, okay? They also had bragging rights that came with it. All right. Now, I want to give you a sentence I wrote here. It was the first time I witnessed my dad clap while being sad. Because you just had to clap, right? I mean, you're sad that you didn't get it, but you just had to clap, right, for Singapore. Because, so smart, like you guys, I mean, I should have thought about that. My government should have thought about that, right? Because the contract was so close, I could smell it. It was going to go on my table. I was going to sign it, and Malaysia would be on the map again, and for the good things, right? Be on the map for good things, and so my dad was sad. I could see it on his face, but he clapped. He said, "Well done, well done." Give credit to where credit is due. All right. Now the last few sentences. People were flying in. You can imagine, right? People were flying in from all across the region. From Malaysia, they were going to Singapore. From Indonesia, they were flying to Singapore. From Philippines, they were flying to Singapore. From Thailand, they were flying to Singapore. Maybe Hong Kong, Taiwan, right? Because there were many followers or many curious people who have heard about Phantom of the Opera. And wanted to watch the first original, sort of original, meaning to say that is the original cast, the Brits from the UK. It's not just another cast from Asia that practiced to do the moves. No, it's actually the cast that if you went to UK, you will watch the same cast. They were traveling to Singapore, and so people knew that it was going to be quality stuff. They paid through their nose and through their ears to pay for the flights. So people were flying from all across, spending tourism dollars that wouldn't have been spent if not for the West End being in Singapore. Flights were full. Hotels were full. Eateries were full. Malls were full. People spent 3-4 days here. And while they watch the show, they say, why don't spend another 2 more days just to enjoy Singapore? So it's money to the hotel, right? It's money to the malls, right? It's money to buy things that they never thought they would buy, right? It's going to since we are here, go to the zoo lah, right? Go to the zoo. Since we are here, go to the night safari. Since we are here, you understand what I'm trying to say? So Singapore gains so much more in tourism dollars, and so many more people, probably never traveled to Singapore before, and now Singapore becomes their, on their list, one of the best destinations to come. So not only they want them at that weekend where they came for the show, they probably will come back again and probably stay back in the same hotel or try another hotel, etc., etc. In fact, business was so good. Listen to this one. Business was so good 30 years ago that the show extended its performance in the city-state, Singapore, from 1 to 3 months. So instead of just making 10 million, let's make 30 million, right? Because people were still wanting to fly in. So for 3 months, it benefited the West End production team, it benefited the local promoter, it benefited the businesses in Singapore, it benefited the government. Everybody benefits. Don't you just feel like you want to clap for that? Because, it's just this proactiveness and the ability to spot an opportunity and take it. Take the bull by the horns. So imagine that. Imagine how much Singapore and everyone else would have gotten that 3 months. Now, you just take that and put it on the very same, time that we're living in now, and it's probably happening with Taylor Swift. Ladies and gentlemen, as I close this reading, it's just business at the end of the day. And good business, I must say, we could do it too if we really wanted to. Let me repeat that. It's just business at the end of the day. It's business for Taylor Swift, it's business for her management, it's business for the local promoter, it's business for Singapore, all right? And it's really good and sound business. It's not unfair, it's not bad, no one is cruel. In fact, have you been denied? You've not been denied, because you can still buy a ticket, you can still fly to Singapore, you can still book into a hotel, and you can still watch your favorite artist, right? So no one has been denied. It's really good, sound business. And I want to say again, we could do it too if we really wanted to. All right, fantastic. Now, I'm going to take a break, a quick one, and come back for the last segment where I'll be reading to you also just a recent Telegram chat I received, and I'll get into the whole deal about raising teens. The first thing we must do as leaders is to live by faith, and then only comes wisdom.
No fingerprint of man can be in your life, because you are the planting of the Lord. You are trees of righteousness. Hallelujah. If trees could have resilience, how much more us as we go deep in the Lord? Just resilience. It doesn't matter what people say to you.
It's not just about salvation. Salvation is just the door to become sons and daughters of the Lord again. Show yourself. The world awaits for you to speak up, to show up, to stand up for righteousness, to pray, and not just have a holy huddle. All right, welcome to the third and final segment of episode 18, and thank you for staying with us. So, as promised, this series is dedicated to understanding youth and revisioning youth ministry. I want to just read to you something before I move on to just a time of sharing and teaching. That will be how the third and final segment will look like. I want to read just something that was sent to me by a dad just before we started this recording this morning. I read it and I just really felt so blessed. This father said, last night, he had a meeting, one-on-one meeting with his daughter. And he said it was good, although energy draining. And I can imagine, right? Father-daughter trying to see eye to eye on some things and not seeing eye to eye on some other things. Maybe one party trying to convince the other of how they are seeing things, how they're feeling. He said, the father said to me, he saw that his daughter was a little bit confused, worried, aimless, and suddenly having a void or emptiness at the moment after she had taken her exam. So of course, as a dad, he was feeling quite worried. And not just worried, but he felt helpless, felt like he didn't quite understand the situation, didn't know what to do. And so he said this. He says, I'm worried, I don't know what to do, and I prayed. He said, I prayed till midnight, and he said, I didn't hear much from God. Didn't hear much from God. How many of you have been there before? We pray, but we don't hear very much from God. Okay, so he said, maybe my mind was clouded with many thoughts, things, and trouble. I forced myself to sleep through. This morning, God led me to Spotify. All right, okay. So we are on Spotify, folks, okay? It's good to use some of this modern technology. And so this father said, I woke up in the morning and God led me to Spotify. And in bracket, he laughs. He says, of course, not hearing songs only. But in fact, he said, God called me to revisit one of your sermons. He didn't mention which one, but he gave me a thought. Once you open, you will see it. Once you open the Spotify, you will see exactly what I'm going to use to speak to you. So he said, I did as I was instructed by the Lord. And as I opened my Spotify, the title of the message came out. Guess what? What message? This is the message. Are you in the middle of something? This is a message I spoke of and about in the last, I don't know how many months ago. But the title of the message is, Are you in the middle of something? He said, after listening to these messages twice, I began to get his peace, God's peace. I began to get his understanding. And I knew now what I should do. How cool is that? This dad saying, I heard the message twice and I knew God was speaking to me. And so he said, Pastor, revisiting all the sermons really helps us to equip ourselves and have the thoughts from God to fight against the thoughts from Satan. And he says, to all of you who help Pastor record the messages and to put them on MTG, as a father, I just want to say thank you very much, because I believe that I'm finding a way forward with my daughter. And then he adds on, he says, she is in the middle of her education. She is in the middle of her journey to become a young adult. She is in the middle of where is she going to go for her university. She's not sure. She's scared. She's in the middle of, between a teenager and a young adult. And I, he said, am in the middle of being a parent, trying to learn how to navigate between a teenager and a college student, or a teenager and a young adult. He said there are times where we really find ourselves in the middle of something. And of course, I can remember now that particular message was using the scripture where Jesus, in the middle of the night, he decided to take a walk on the sea. Remember that? And if you read, it was the fourth watch of the night. Now, if you check what the fourth watch is actually the darkest time of the night. It is a time where most of us are in a deeper sleep. It's round about 3 to 4 a.m., very deep sleep. Some of us may sleep at 1:30, 2:30, but by about 3 to 4, we are snoring the loudest. If we snore, we are in the deepest dreams. If any robber comes to the house, it usually is the thief in the night is usually at that time. And by about 4:35, you're probably already starting to wake up for school, to prepare for work. So any time between 3, maybe even 3 to 4:30, yeah, that's the time, okay? And Jesus chose that time to be awake. How many of you are glad to hear this? That when we are in our darkest moments, deepest times, Jesus is awake. And Jesus chooses to walk on the water. Nothing was going to stop him from getting to you. And it was that time when they saw him and they thought it was a ghost, remember? And the Bible actually said that they were in the middle of the Sea of Galilee. They were in the middle and they were rowing so hard because right there in the middle of the sea, the waves were strong. The winds were blowing. There was a storm. And we also might be in the middle of something. And I want you to know it is in the middle of that thing that God comes to you. He will never leave you or forsake you. So again, to all my guys here, even in the studio, and to people like Alvin, and people who are editing and recording, and people like Meng Sheng and XTV, we have just gotten a big thanks and a big thumbs up from a dad who had an energy-draining night, he said last night, and the energy has been restored to him by one message listened to twice this morning because this father was looking for an answer. He found it through the message, and it was made available through MTG on Spotify. I also want to thank Kenya, for having moved that forward because he's always looking at how to get pastors' messages, online so that many more can hear it when the time comes for them that they need to hear a word from the Lord. And so again, thank you to everyone here also at the studios. Praise the Lord. Okay, so amen. I want to continue by reminding us that teenage years can be the most difficult time. Not just for the teen, not just for the parent, but for everyone involved. I went on to talk to you about the biblical theology of youth ministry, referring to Jesus himself at 12 years old, and we can read it from Luke chapter 2, but we can go back to the earlier podcast. I think either it's going to be episode number 15 or 16. Just go back to that and listen in and see what God will speak to you through that. Then I went on into a whole thought process of needs versus wants. So we know that teens have got wants, but we as a youth ministry must not only minister to wants, more importantly, we are there to minister to needs. And wants may change, but needs can remain the same for many more generations to come. Now, I talked to you at length about this, and let me just review to you something I said last Thursday. I talked to you about the 3 things teens want, and the three things, it's like a mouthful, is TTT. 3 things teens want and 3 things teens need. All right, okay, I got through that, okay. But I'm going to add a 4th one, okay. So let me just quickly review with you. So this is what they want. This is what I said they want. I said they wanted, this is last week. I said they wanted what's real, they wanted respect, they wanted responsibility. So there are 3 R's. Real, respect, responsibility. The more real the thing is, the more young people buy into it. The more you give them respect, and the more they feel respect, the more they will respond. And the more you give them responsibilities, the more they will grow. All right? Otherwise, if it's overly comfortable, if parents and youth leaders, you're doing everything for your young people, they are going to slowly die in their faith, at least. I went on to talk to you about what our youth ministries need to provide. We need to provide 3 C's. We need to provide the challenge. Challenge them to experience the reality of God. So it's still real. Young people want real stuff. If you can give them an experience and an encounter of a real God, because God is real, then their lives will change forever. Number two, the second C is cause. They might want respect, but actually they need a cause to believe in, to live for, and even to die for. And number three, the third C I gave you last week was channel. So they might want responsibility, and the only way they're going to get the right responsibility is when the church or the youth ministry becomes the channel and provides the channel in and through which young people can learn responsibility. And the more you give them, the more they learn responsibility, then the more they can experience. If they are going to be responsible for 100 ringgit, then you can give them 1,000 the next time. And then with that comes trust, right? They go like, wow, my leader trusts me with 1,000. Yeah, well, because he earned it. He earned the trust. He earned the respect. Because you gave him that responsibility and he was able to be successful. And so we need to provide our young people channels in and through which those responsibilities grow and they grow and you can trust them more and they can experience so much more. And one day maybe even lead mission trips and mission teams out, not just to nearby places, but even overseas. And 16-year-olds can lead it, 17-year-olds can lead it, 18-year-olds can lead it, and they can do greater things for God. But it has to start somewhere. And so we, the leaders and the adults, must learn to trust them, and we must give them bite-sized channels of responsibility so that they can grow in this, all right? But I said to you earlier that I want to give you the fourth one now. In fact, the fourth one is actually the first one. So I want to give it to you like this. Role model. What teens want are role models. And sometimes they don't know, but they're looking at the Taylor Swift. They're looking at the, I can't remember all the latest names, Justin Bieber's. They're looking at the Jungkooks. They're looking at their sports stars, Cristiano Ronaldo's, Darwin Núñez, and so on and so forth, right? They're looking. So they're looking at an idol. They're looking at someone they would like to imitate and follow. They're really looking. And that's why they're so head over heels with their heroes and their idols. God, of course, said to us, don't have any idols. So I would like to encourage all of us to point our young people to God. Let God be the object of worship. Let Him be the greatest role model that our young people would like to imitate. But having said that, let me not, jump just to God only, as if we adults had nothing to do or no place in this. God told us to disciple. And when you are discipling, you are saying like what Jesus said, follow me as I've... Jesus said, follow me. It is Paul that said, imitate me as I imitate Christ. So the goal of discipleship and the power of discipleship is to be able to imitate or copy someone else. And we need to provide that for our young people. We need to live inspiring lives. Lives that are an encouragement. That our young people would want to look at us and follow after us. Our character, our passion, our boldness, our courage, our confidence, all these good things, right? Our love for God, our passion for the ministry. So number one that young people are looking for really in their lives as they're growing up is for role models. So what they want is role models, and what you and I need to give them is a copy. Imitate me as I imitate Christ. Okay? So 4 R's, 4 C's. And I'll say this and I'll move on. Okay? Here we go again. The 3 things teens want: role model, real, respect, responsibility. And what a responsible and effective youth ministry need to offer is someone for them to copy, someone that will challenge them into the reality of God, someone who will help them find a cause where they will ultimately find true respect, and and even a respect of themselves because they have something that they believe in and live for. And finally, a youth ministry that offers the right channels for young people to learn responsibility. And I tell you, they really want that. And when they are successful in the responsibility given to them, they will also find fulfillment. All right. Now, I want to move on. I want to talk about parents today. In fact, when somebody asked me, Pastor, could you speak about parenting? And I prepared these slides. And I went to this church and I talked to them about parenting. But there was something funny that came into my mind. The whole spelling of parenting, I spelled it as parenting. So it's parent dash T-E-E-N. Parenting. So it's not just parenting, it's parenting. Meaning to say that there needs to be a collaboration, a partnership between parent and teen. It's not just a one-way street. It's a two-way street. For a successful youth ministry or for successful ministry to teenagers or young people, it needs to be the parent working with the teen and the teen with the parent. Much that is learned, let me give you another point, much that is learned in parenting, arguably the most challenging phase of the parenting journey is learned from trial and error. When I watched the show on the Dog Whisperer, I think the man's name is Cesar Millan, we will always notice that most of the solutions to the problems that the pets, especially dogs, right? Most of the problems that the dogs face is not really in the dog. The answer is not found in the dog itself. Most of the time it's found, or the problems or the answers, Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer, will point to the parents of the dog. So I want to tell you that in my 30 over years of working in the teens world, in the youth ministry and working with parents and youth workers, I need to tell you this is the truth, that many, not all, not always, but many and most of the answers lies in the parents. The problems actually are with the parents. And if parents can acknowledge that, humbly accept that, then maybe we will find an answer quicker than later, all right? Parents also need to grow up. I know that we are hoping that our teens will grow up, but parents, I lovingly tell you, you and I also need to grow up. Or if we don't grow up, then we'll find ourselves in a situation where a kid is leading a kid. That's a problem. That's a problem. Adults, listen to me. Sometimes you are kids yourself. Okay? You have a temper problem. You have an impatient problem and all this kind of stuff, okay? And you also want stuff. And you also can't wait for good stuff. And you also, are borrowing money. And you also are not good with your finances. And you also wake up late in the morning. And you also don't want to go to church, have to be forced. And you also have to be told by your pastor to serve in church. And you know what I'm trying to say? I can go down the list. And then later on you go like, I wonder why my son is like that. I wonder why my daughter is like that. Hello, look in the mirror, okay? Now, I want to say that humbly. I want to say that lovingly, okay? I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to just tell the truth. And I want to tell you, parents, if you want to see change, now I know that it all depends, okay? If your son or daughter is really deep into this now, it might take years. But it starts today. Somebody say amen. It starts today. It can happen. God is on our side. Ladies and gentlemen, please listen to me. God is on the side of parents. He knows how difficult it is. And He wants to help you. In fact, He is our parent of all parents. So He knows what He's doing. He knows what He wants to do. Would you please work with God today? Work with God. It starts today. Now, of course, if your children are not so deep into it yet, they haven't formed a bad habit yet, that's hard to break, then maybe within days, or if not weeks, you will see difference. But it starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with the adult. It cannot be a kid leading a kid. All right? I believe, this is going to be now, I'm going to go deeper before I take us off on a beautiful tangent up to heaven, okay? I'm going to go deeper now. I'm going to say to you, and some of you might not agree with me, but I've been in this a long time. I believe children reflect the true self of their parents. I believe children reflect the true self of their parents. So, when you see a kid acting and behaving, this way, that way, a way that you don't like, you might say, where did this kid learn it from? All right? You look at the mom, you look at the dad, you go like, I can't see it. Pastor, you just said that children reflect the true self of parents. But I can't see it. Look, the dad is so gentle. Look, the mom, is so well behaved. But the kid, is jumping on all the sofas, opening people's fridges, or the kid is, having bad temper, or the kid is impatient, or the kid is always emotional, so emo. Now, I tell you why, because I've been in this a long time to know that what I'm saying is true. When we grow up as adults, and if we haven't yet been transformed by the Spirit of God, and we are our true self from young, what we have learned is that we have learned to cover up really well. And that's it. If we have been emotional, we will continue to be emotional. But maybe today we have a little bit more control, a little bit more self-consciousness, a little bit more like, we are more aware. But in the right season, at the right time, with the right provoking material, you will show your true self. And if you're not showing it in public, you will show it to people privately at home. I am telling you right now, I know what I'm saying. And that's why I didn't say I believe children reflect the parents. I said children reflect the true self of parents, meaning the hidden real you. And God gave you a child to remind you that you haven't changed. And that you need to. And so stop saying that your child is emo. Check yourself. You are probably as emo as your child, if not more. It's just that you haven't been in the right environment to bring that out. Are you all still with me? Very important. I'm also speaking to myself. I know this. I know this for a fact and as a truth. I also believe that God gives us children to mature parents and to minister to them. Yeah. A father once told me, Pastor Kenneth, I learned to be a real man after my children came. It's just something about children that brings that out. It either brings the worst out of you or brings the best. And if you didn't have those children, maybe you might not have the lessons that you need to become a real man. Maybe. God can still teach you. The community around you can still teach you. You can still learn by observation. But this man said it so well. He said, I actually became a father and started to know the Father's heart because I had children. So my children were given to me to actually show me who I really am and what is really in me. And I became a real man. Before that, I was probably a boy. Before that, probably I thought I was a man. Before that, I looked into the mirror and thought it was all just biceps and triceps and abdominal muscles. I thought it was just suits and ties and perfume and cologne and nice cars and big. Until my children came, I then began to understand what a real man is. A real man who picks up his children when they're crying and don't just leave it to his wife. A real man that says, I will not go for that golf a trip with my friends because my son needs me. I need to be at his football game. A real man with self-control and with priorities all set right. Are you all still with me? So children are often given to mature parents, if not to minister to them. Okay? So this is very, very important. I've got other notes here, but I just want to see which one I can give you, especially in the remaining time we have. Okay, let me give you this one. This one is good. I found in my last over 30 years of doing youth ministry that there are 3 levels of parenting. So there's no one answer when you're ministering to a parent who has a troubled teen or a troubled young adult or a troubled kid. Sometimes we think there's one answer because parent is one name, right? You're a parent of a child, you're a parent of a teenager, you're a parent of a young adult, you're a parent of a working adult. But there's only one name, parent. So you think that it's one size fit all. You think that it's the same thing all through the way, the same strategy. No. I found out that there are 3 levels of parenting. 3 seasons. I can also call it that. Number one, you are the parent, which means you have the authority. Just by being a parent, you have the right to speak into your child's life. Excuse me. It doesn't even have to be democratic. I know a lot of parents like to have a democratic way of parenting. Your child is 3 years old, and you bring him for a meeting, a family meeting, and say, where should we go for holiday this December? No, people, I know it sounds really nice, and you could get parent award for the year, because it sounds like, wow. No. And 1, 2, 3, 7, 9, you say, we are going to Seramban or Dixon. Okay, let's mature and go up to Melaka. Let's promote and go up to JB. Let's go to Langkawi. You state it, you set it, and you create memories with what you have. Let your young people learn the value of money. Learn that, it's not cheap to go on family holidays. And that dad and mom are doing their best. And when we go, dad and mom was going to make the best of it. Not to demand, they will become teenagers and it will be a different story. So if you start them too young, guess what you're going to do? At teenage, they'll probably say Disneyland. Right? I don't know where else they want to go, Santorini. And then what will happen in their college age? So you've got to really manage this well. All right? I wouldn't encourage democratic, family gatherings at 2, 3 years old. No, listen, just be the parent. If your 7-year-old comes to you and says, Mom, I like a boy at school, and I think we'll be married at 8. Hey, listen to me, please, parent. You are the parent. You have authority. You have the right. You must be instructional. You must be directional. You must be the captain of your ship. You must tell them what is right and what is wrong and teach them the values of life and the values of money and the values of time. All right. Now, there is another season. This season, all of you know this, because when your teenager becomes a teenager, they listen more to their older siblings. They listen more to their friends at school, even their older friends at school. They respect that prefect. They respect that sports captain. They could be about 12, 13, 14, but they look up to the 15, 16, 17-year-old, okay? So, excuse me. What you want to do is to, parents, mature and even transform to take a more older brother, older sister approach. Not that you cannot still instruct and still direct, but you give some room for your teenager. Because that's what older brothers, older sisters do. They are not the parent, right? So they go like, oh yeah. And so your teenager is not coming to you as a parent to talk about their boy-girl relationship, but they will talk to their older brother and older sister. They will talk to that older friend in school. Because there is a certain way that an older brother, older sister behaves. Not judgmental, not I told you, not, you are not allowed to look at a girl. I don't care if you're 14. You're not allowed to speak to a boy. Sometimes as parents, we don't move along with the times. And so we still are that, right? Finish your vegetables now, right? I think when you are leading teenagers, just relax a little bit. They want to respect you now. They want to look at you as an older brother, older sister who begins to laugh at their jokes and go like, oh, really? You like this boy in school? Right? That's what older brothers and sisters do. They do go like, you crazy or what? Mom will kill you. The older brothers and sisters will give space, understanding. So I think that's what teenagers need. They need to know that their parents are willing to relax, chill a little bit. Give me some understanding, parents. You've been there before, right? You've fallen in love before, right? So you can still say, son, I would like you not to start until you're in college, at least. But it's okay. It's okay to have a girlfriend. It's okay to go out in groups, control your feelings, manage your feelings, teach them, lead them, guide them. So you're not saying no like how you used to say no to a 5-year-old. You're saying, I understand, but here's a better way to do it. I understand, That's why the topic, the title of this series is called Understanding Youth. It's not called Directing Youth and Scolding Youth, and all that. It's understand. Teens want people to understand them. And when you offer understanding, then they offer cooperation. And they begin to open their ears and their hearts to listen. So be the parent, be authoritative, be directional, be strong, and take control of your household between 1 to about 11, 12, okay? And then become the older brother, older sister. You still have authority, but authority by respect, okay? So I'm going to give it to you again. Parent, that's your first stage, first season. Authority by right. Second season, older brother, older sister. Authority by respect. If you can offer respect to your teen, they will respect you back. But it's still authority. Parent, authority by right. Older brother, older sister, authority by respect. Try to be that older brother and older sister to your teenager. But remember, you still have authority, but let it be authority by respect. And thirdly, and finally, the 3 levels of parenting, the 3 seasons of parenting. When they are older, when they become a young adult, a campus student, a young adult about to go to work, they don't need a parent. They don't need just an older brother or sister. They, your children who are older now, need a friend. And so be the parent who has authority by relationship. Is that helpful? Be the parent when they are young, really young. Exercise authority by right. It's your right to be the parent. It's your right to say no is no, yes is yes. This is my house, this is my roof. You live here, you live by my rules, by right. When they're older, as a teen, they need not just a parent, they need a older brother, older sister. Some understanding, some respect, some room to maneuver. And still, don't give up your authority, exercise your authority. And number 3, when they're older, they just need a friend that they can rely on, talk to, walk with, get advice from. Exercise authority by relationship. Authority by right, authority by respect, authority by relationship. You still have authority as a parent, but it's by friendship, by relationship. Okay? The sad news is that our children are going to need us less and less as they grow. That's the sad news. They used to come to you for everything when they were children. But now, when they're older, they're going to come to you less and less, parents. So enjoy your young people when you can. Because later on, it might only be 1 phone call a week. And then 1 phone call a month. And then 1 phone call every 6 months. Okay? So enjoy your teenagers, enjoy your young people. Speak to them, communicate, have great memories. But the sad news is that our children are going to need us less and less as they grow. But the good news is that we are going to be more and more valuable to them as they grow. Meaning to say that once upon a time when they were children, you said 20 things to them, and it was just small things. Ice cream, dessert, go to bed, read me a story. Just small things, significant, yes, but small. And you can speak to them in many words. And they are just, small. Compared to when they're older now, even though they call you less, but when they do call you, it's big. It's big. So meaning to say, that even though they will call you less when they grow up, when they call you, you are going to be more and more valuable, like wine. Like wine. The more years, the more valuable. Like even treasure, right? Newfound treasure is less costly than a treasure that has already been, put into a ring or a crown. And that's, really, really valuable. So parents, listen to me. Yeah. Enjoy your children now. They will grow and they will need you less. But when they are grown, and when they do make that call to you, remember that in their eyes, you are very valuable. And in their eyes, that advice you give them, even though it's only once a year, once in 2 years, once in 5 years, it's going to be so valuable. It's going to help them make big decisions in their lives. And you will always be parent. And so never forget that and never feel lost about that. Okay? Now let me draw to a close before we call it a day. Let me just give you maybe one more thing and we will close. Okay. So as I'm giving you the 3 levels, the 3 seasons of how to be a parent, it's not one size fit all. It's not one strategy for, the whole 20 years of their development stages. No, just learn to adapt. Learn to be aware about what's changing and how you need to change with it as well. But still be the parent of authority. Just remember that it's authority by right, authority by respect, and authority by relationship. Okay? Now this is the last one. I'm going to give it to you and I'm going to close. And I think it's almost time to close. So in saying all that to you, you and I as parents need to know when to, 3 things. You need to know when to stand before them. You need to know when to stand beside them. And thirdly, you need to know when to stand behind them. Do you like that? That is to help us to parent our young people. There will be a time in their lives as a parent who exercise authority by right. You're going to stand in front of them, right? Don't do this. Don't do that. Do this properly. Do that well. Wake up early. Go to sleep early. Respect your elders. Right? You have to. You cannot miss that moment. Otherwise, where will they learn it from? Teachers, listen, ladies and gentlemen, teachers in classroom, are you standing behind the students? Teachers always stand in front. You must know the season of standing in front. Stand before them. Then you also must know when to stand beside them. Walk with them, right? And you turn and you go like, hey son, remember I used to tell you, to wake up early. Remember I used to tell you to be kind to girls and be respectful. You walk beside them like a brother, like an older brother, older sister. And then finally, as a parent who exercises authority by relationship, it means only when they want you, only when they need you, they'll call you. Otherwise, you have to let them live their lives. You have to let them go to start their family, right? So are you standing before them now? You cannot marry this person. You don't do that. You're not that parent anymore. You cannot. And parents who don't know continue to stand before their children who are 25, 30 years old, and you're still standing before them. You will break this relationship up very quickly. And they will not respect you. They might love you because you are dad and your mom, but they will not be able to connect with you. They will not come to you with important decisions. So there's a time to stand before them. There's a time to stand beside them. And parents, listen, there's also a time to stand behind them, cheering them on. And maybe sometimes as they walk forward, they will look back and say, Mom, and Mom is still there. Go ahead, go on. Come on, son. Thanks, Mom. Sometimes the daughter will turn around and she's walking, right? Having a good job, having a good husband, having a good family, and then she turns around now and then, Dad? And Dad says, go ahead, sweetheart. Dad is behind you always. Even though now beside you is a husband. Dad can't stand beside you anymore, right? Because even at the altar, Dad has to give you to the new man in your life. So who's standing beside you now? Your husband and wife. So if dad is always trying to stand beside you, the husband won't have a place. If mom is always trying to stand beside the boy who is now grown up and married, how can the wife be the wife? And that's where trouble starts and arguments, and because the wife wants to be the wife, but the son is always talking about the mother. my mother's food is better. No, mom, dad, listen. Stand behind. There's a time to stand behind and just cheer them on. Go forth. I'm with you. I'm behind you. I'm always going to be dad. I'm always going to be mom. Come back when you can. Come back for a meal. Come back once a year for a reunion. I'm here. I'm for you. I'm for your grandchildren. Okay, don't stand beside. Don't stand before them. Don't keep scolding them. There's a time to stand before them, time to stand beside them, time to stand behind them. Now, it's all about timing. Parenting is also about timing. Key is to know what to do when. And may the Lord bless you. That's all the time we have for today's episode. I hope that you have been blessed. This is episode number 18. And on behalf of my team and I, thank you for tuning in. I pray that you've been blessed. Please, leave us a comment. Leave us an encouragement. Tell us what more you want to hear. And give us a like if you can. And subscribe to this channel. I'm going to sign off right now. Again, see you when we see you. And that should be next Thursday. The Lord bless you. Have a great weekend. Thank you.